Our guest today is Janice Litvin. She's a workplace wellness, stress, and burnout speaker. She helps organizations get their employees to be engaged and productive. Janice, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Christopher. I'm so happy to be here.
So I always say to all my guests and all my speakers and all my clients that I work with, they don't really care what you do until you pull their attention and grab their attention. In your case, I was looking through your LinkedIn profile and I saw Zumba.
Yes.
I saw that you not only do Zumba, but you actually teach it.
Yes. I love teaching Zumba. This summer it'll be 11 years. And I found Zumba because I myself was out of shape and unhappy and sedentary. And one day I woke up and said, this is it. This is enough. I don't like the way I feel. And I got to the gym and lost my weight and became a certified Zumba instructor.
That's awesome. And again, the reason why I mentioned that is because I love just seeing all the connectivity in people's lives. So Zumba is fun, it's a dance, but it's also about wellness, and you're a workplace wellness and a burnout coach and speaker. So I'm fascinated to know, when did you decide that you wanted to speak on this topic? It's one thing for you to say, you know what, Janet, or to yourself, like, I want to have a better life for myself, but when you shift gears and go outward and say, I want to help other people now do what I eventually have done. So when did you decide to really make this a full-time gig for you?
That's such an interesting question. So I'll step back just for a moment and tell you that I did technology recruiting for 20 years. Before that, I was in technology myself. And then, as we all know, there was a recession in 2008. That was part of what got me to the gym, because I feel like if you have nothing else to do, you should go to the gym. And then I, as I said, became a Zumba instructor. After a couple of years, I thought, I love helping people get healthy through Zumba, but I wanted to deepen it and go further. So I went back to school to study exercise psychology, nutrition, and exercise science, the physiology and the anatomy, but I really loved the psychology piece. So then when I finished my certification, I came out and I said, okay, how can I translate this to helping people in the corporate world? And I found the world of workplace wellness.
Yeah, and you're a great example, Janice, of this person who just followed her path and this happened, but then you decided to just continue opening up different opportunities, because again, with workplace wellness, it's a thing in the corporate world. And for, let's say, a lot of clients I have, they want to break into the corporate world and they don't realize that corporations have a lot of money to spend to help their employees stay healthy, because if they stay healthy, they have a high productivity rate, they're more motivated, they're more healthy, and ultimately they have less health costs. And so it all makes sense. So I just want to let our listeners know that there's a market for most things, but especially in the corporate world, you have a great niche in terms of what you do, Janice. So talk to us again about how you go about helping. Do you help specific individuals or actual companies, or both?
Primarily, I help companies, and of course, companies are made up of individuals. So the answer is sort of both. So when I go into a company, if they call me and say, oh, our employees are stressed, they're not doing well managing their work. Sometimes there are managers who aren't as good at managing projects as we'd like them to be. And so I help people manage themselves and even manage up, so to speak, which is to help get their work organized. But the first step in helping people banish burnout, which is the name of my book, The Banish Burnout Toolkit, is I help them become aware of their current behavior in reaction to stress. So when people get stressed, it's a normal human reaction to get upset, of course, that's normal. And some people overreact and then they stay upset, they start complaining, they become the bad apple. But nobody's happy, including that person, when they're complaining. So the first step is to take them through a process I call the stress audit, which is to have them look at exactly what happens when they get upset and to write it out. And then I teach them that some of the characteristic reactions that they have are very common, such as overreacting, exaggerating, overgeneralizing. And then I teach them how to dig back into their past to figure out the connection between their past and their present, how they developed their current patterns of behavior, because everyone's behavior is rooted in something they learned from the past, either a parent, a teacher, could have been their peer group, could have been a coach, but somewhere along the way, they learned to react in a certain way in their mind. And so I help them dig out to see their neural pathways, which is a fancy word for their behavior patterns. And then I
Nice.
help them change them.
And you're saying, so let's say someone's burnt out at work and they're stressed out, they don't deal with deadlines. If you were to rewind their life back to when they're 8 years old in their classroom and they're studying for a test and their teacher was stressing them out and yelling at them. And so are you saying that you would just walk back their life so that you look at the root cause of that?
Yes, let me give you an example. I had one client who told me a story, and this is why I love working with people. He said, no matter how hard I worked, if I came home with a 93, which back then was an A, I don't know what it is now, but let's say he came home with an A, and one of his parents would say, well, what happened to the other 7 points? So that's the kind of expectations. And a lot of parents do this, especially now. There's so much competition to get into good colleges, and kids have to have not only a 4.0, but a 4.5, and they get all stressed if the child isn't getting into Harvard or Yale or UC Berkeley. So it's important for the child to know that however well they do, that's who they are. Whether it's a 93 or an 83 or 100, that's who they are. And every child has a different type of intelligence. So it could be textbook smarts, it could be street smarts, it could be sports, but everyone has a strength. And it's important for parents to know that to dig in and find out what makes their child tick outside of the classroom.
And then how do you think, let's say that same analogy that translates to that man in the workplace in terms of the burnout?
So what happens is they take those expectations and that pattern of being criticized and they internalize it. They think, well, the parents are their guides growing up. They love them. They believe in them. And then they take and apply that to their life. So they're always self-criticizing. They set themselves up. And then if somebody in the workplace either uses a harsh tone of voice or gives them some feedback about something, not meaning to be critical, that person will take it as critical and get very upset.
Interesting. And how do you go about helping them then? First, just helping them be aware of it. And then what are some suggestions you have to help them overcome it?
So yes, I help them be aware of it. And then I take them through a process of communicating, number one, for themselves. Then I actually have them team up with an accountability buddy. And if they can't find one, I help them figure out somebody, hopefully at work, or it could be a good friend that's in the work world, but maybe not in their company. And I help them come up with exercises that they can do, mental exercises, writing exercises, to help them stay in touch with who they are every day. There's something called morning writing where you commit to write 3 pages a day. 3 pages often turns into 10, but if I said to somebody, I want you to write 10 pages every day, they might feel overwhelmed. So if I ask them to write 3 pages, they can commit to that. And it could be notes on a flashcard, or it could be notes in the notes part of your phone. I don't care where you do it, as long as you do it, because everyone comes to work with an attitude and this emotional baggage I was talking about. And so becoming aware of how you're feeling every single day will help you get through the day healthier and happier.
Oh, that's great, Janice. The most important thing that you shared that I really, really connect with is that it's about being self-aware, but when you write it down, there's something magic about when you write things down, whether you're stressed out or you're upset or you're looking back at what you're saying in your past patterns that we've created, these neuro connections we have. It's so powerful because so many of us don't write anymore. We type things on the computer, but if you actually write or type things on the computer, but especially write, it just allows you to really see it on the surface of a page and allows you to see things that you would never see or imagine. So I really appreciate that perspective, Janice, because again, if you can't help yourself or help others if you don't even know what you need help in. So Janice, thanks so much for helping us understand the process of not just going past burnout, but just being more well, not just in the workplace, but in general. So how can our guests stay in touch with you, Janice?
How can they what? I'm sorry.
How can they stay in touch with you?
Oh, there are a lot of ways. They can reach me through email, janice@janicelitvin.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all day, every day, just about. So I love connecting with people that way. I'm on Instagram, Janice Litvin. I'm on Twitter, J Litvin. I'm on Facebook, Janice Litvin Speaks. I'm all over the place.
Awesome. Well, Janice, thank you so much for being on our podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me, Christopher.